Sunday, August 6, 2023. You're listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. We have an unbelievable heat dome that's situated itself actually right along the Arctic coast. I believe this is the first time this summer that the Environmental Canada has actually issued an excessive heat warning for areas on the Arctic coast. Actually, the Arctic coast for real. If you look at the Storm Shield app, they will show you, we've had excessive heat warnings which have gone right along the Arctic Circle, but this one's even north of that, headed towards 69 degrees north latitude. It's actually on the Arctic coast. Just unbelievable stuff as temperatures go from the mid-80s to the low 90s. We have places forecasted to go to 90 and 91 degrees tomorrow afternoon, right along the Arctic coast in Canada, and many locations mid and upper 80s. The Environmental Canada tells us that many spots in northern Alaska may be reaching a humidex of 33 degrees Celsius. That's in the low 90s Fahrenheit as temperatures go into the upper 80s to around 90 degrees. This includes places like North Slope, Alaska. That's very far up north. That happens to be one of the counties that is being affected by greenhouse gases, increased greenhouse gases up at North Slope, Alaska. I believe that's the most impacted city in the world, perhaps, or very close to it, at least in the Alaska area. And we have the portions of northern Canada again. The northern Canada is where the heat warning takes you all the way up to the Arctic coast. The heat does not extend all the way to the Arctic coast when you get to the the United States area in northern Alaska. It's just a little area in Canada where the heat is actually right along the Arctic coast. Just unbelievable stuff, because we're holding right now in the first week of August, and in past summers when we saw extreme heat like this, it was usually, first of all, a little bit further south, and also this heat tends to occur in July, sometimes even June, but the solar insolation is rapidly declining up there, so one would think the chances of this happening already in August is significantly less. But not only is it happening, but the heat has actually expanded going up north. Now, big changes are expected to take place towards the end of the 7-day forecast cycle, as computer models indicate high temperatures only in the 40s by the end of this 7-day cycle. But, that's definitely much colder than what we have now, with temperatures in the 80s and low 90s. We also have a severe weather outbreak taking place in the Midwest. We have portions of Illinois right now under a tornado warning, and lots of thunderstorms in that area. Will be moving into Indiana later on this evening. If they do reach Chicago, it would be well after midnight. I don't know if they are going to reach Chicago or not, but when you head off to the mid-Atlantic area, that's where there's going to be thunderstorms this evening. But tomorrow, that's when we have even a higher risk for severe weather. The word has it that we're at an enhanced risk for severe weather with a 45% chance for damaging winds up in the mid-Atlantic area, which includes Baltimore, Maryland, for tomorrow afternoon. I believe there's also a thunderstorm line going all the way from the northeast to the southeast portions of the United States. That's for tomorrow. But really, the main highlight over here is that the excessive heat warning, the heat warnings issued by the Environmental Canada, I found it to be spectacular that it's right now right along the Arctic coast. You could just look at the Storm Shield app and you can see it for yourself. It's just unbelievable stuff. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone a wonderful week and stay safe. For possible development. Invest 97L, a tropical disturbance that earlier brought rain to South Florida, has returned, surpassing other states. Collide with such significantly more than during the day. Those water temperatures globally remains to our west. We had reports. Thank you for listening. Stay tuned to the next segment. We have a phenomenal heat wave that's taking place not just over the desert Southwest, but even across the southeast portions of the United States. In fact, this is actually a marine heat wave. Temperatures, unbelievable water temperatures of 101 degrees, which occurred right off the coast of Florida in the Everglades National Park. That's really something phenomenal. Now, the Washington Post claims that might have been the hottest water temperature globally ever to be recorded. But the truth of the matter is, the Dead Sea in Israel, that place has seen water temperatures significantly hotter than that. In fact, just a random day when I went there with a mercury thermometer, that day itself had a water temperature of 102 degrees. We also have a report that back in 2017, that summer, we also had a water temperature of 102 degrees at the Everglades National Park area. What's also phenomenal is that that area, water temperatures have been going from 92 in the morning to 101 in the evening, in the late afternoon. You're seeing a 10-degree difference between night and day. The third totally remarkable thing is the fact that the water temperatures are hotter than the daytime air temperatures, and at all times during the day, those water temperatures are hotter. This leads us to the next question of what exactly is causing such heat, and that's really a tremendous mystery. I know a lot of people might think that it's not a mystery because the heat tends to get camouflaged into the summer and we associate it with summer, but the truth is that this marine heat wave actually started back in April, and it was a global event where temperatures on the bottom of the seafloor went up by significant amounts. We saw actually a record warmth across the globe at the end of April, all the way on the bottom, 5,000 feet down. In some spots, it's even significantly more than 5,000 feet. And there is no reason, scientific reason that's known to us at this time what's causing such warmth on the bottom of the ocean. We have an El Nino. Back then, it was really at the developing stage, if it even was in its developing stage at all. Now it's starting to become into a strong El Nino event, and that's also influencing in general the temperatures. And the marine heat wave is called a heat wave when you have the average water temperatures of 2 degrees or higher over a widespread area. This is going to have very dangerous impacts as we go up to this upcoming winter for the East Coast and the Midwest. Should any Arctic air collide with such moisture, it's going to be something like we have probably never seen before, because we've never seen such a marine heat wave. We're out of time, and this is something that weather enthusiasts can look forward to, but many people might feel the trepidation as we head into the winter, and it's almost a certainty that Arctic air at least will make it into the upper Midwest, and usually it makes its way into the southern portions of the Midwest as well. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. The following trailer was updated June 7th, 2023. Special guest on our show. What is your name? Temperatures going into the low hundreds for the next 3 days. Holy cow! The blackberry winter that comes up every year here in the Midwest on May 11th. Several additional feet of snow is expected by Monday morning. This was in the forecast from a week ago, and the National Weather Service is finally acknowledging it today. Conditions are favorable for the development of an El Nino. We're going from one extreme to the next extreme. Despite the fact that it's 113 during the day and 46 at night, you could still do a little dance. Recorded temperatures during heat bursts have reached well above 104 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
Google weather with enthusiasm, and they're all going to come up.
Meteorologist Simcha left. Weather with Enthusiasm is his podcast.
West, the South will continue to face sweltering heat as high pressure remains firmly in place, but thunderstorms may bring temporary relief to some people. Fox Weather tells us that over 250 million people have been baking in above average temperatures in the U.S.
Oh my gosh.
But relief is on the way for some. As the temperature drops in the north, the number of people experiencing above average temperatures will decrease to under 200 million today. Less than 1 million will have temperatures at least 10 degrees higher than the average by Sunday. Now for some more serious stuff from the National Hurricane Center. The National Hurricane Center is monitoring 2 areas in the Atlantic for possible development. Invest 97L, a tropical disturbance that earlier brought rain to South Florida, has returned north off the Carolina coast. It has a 20% chance of Tuesday, July 18th. You are listening to the podcast Weather with Enthusiasm. From the European computer model, teens temperature 130 degrees today. This is altitude, but temperature May 15th, 2023. You are listening to Weather with Enthusiasm. Earlier this month, on May 1st, a dust storm moved through southern Illinois, maybe even central Illinois, Montgomery County, Illinois, right over Interstate 55. Dust storms often are a mile or more high and could be several hundred miles long. These storms could be accompanied by 60-mile-per-hour winds and visibilities which are barely a few feet. The technical term for dust storms are haboobs, Haboobs, and they're most common in the desert Southwest, but occasionally do occur on the plains and even in the Midwest Corn Belt. Throughout the world, they're found in northern Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, Central Asia, and China. They've even occurred in Australia and South America. This information comes from the Washington Post. The way a dust storm forms, strong winds blow dust into the air. Usually, these strong winds are the result of a thunderstorm outflow. A dust storm is associated with drops in temperatures. Sometimes these dust storms occur outside of thunderstorms. Usually the term sandstorm is used for these more widespread events. Sandstorms over Africa can occasionally suspend enough Saharan dust that some blows all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. That's what we had, which happened back in the June of 2021. Dust storms are extremely dangerous. It makes it very difficult to breathe for those that are outside, but the greatest threat occurs on the roads. Erratic winds and abrupt drops in visibility can happen in seconds. The National Weather Service recommends drivers to pull to the side and stay alive if they're passing through an affected area when a dust storm hits. Dust storms are most common in sandy or dusty areas, especially when those areas receive thunderstorms as well. In the desert Southwest, places like Phoenix and Tucson, they could see a few blowing dust events every year, but a dust storm wouldn't occur every year, perhaps once a year or two. They're most likely expected by Monday together to produce a major and red-tinged snow fell on New England that winter.